So welcome again to this second info session for the Social Innovation Management program. Today you will meet me. My name is Stephanie. I'm based in Kenya and I am the Amani Institute Global Program Manager. I'm also a SIM Fellow. I did the program in Kenya in 2015. You will also meet Arun, who is joining us from Switzerland. Christina, unfortunately, will not be able to make it. She had a bit of a family emergency, so I'll be showing a video on her behalf instead. And hopefully also joining us will be Faustina, who's also in Kenya. And all three of them were fellows of this first digital edition that just finished. They're about to graduate in 2 weeks. So big congratulations on that. And we will be talking about their apprenticeships. But first, I'll give you a little bit of background on the SIM program. We've had a total of 542 fellows from 64 countries that have done the program over the last couple of years. We have 340 apprenticeships placed. Of the 342 people who have joined, 385 were women, 157 men, of whom one was transgender, 156 cisgender. We have 150 and more employer partners. What an employer partner is an organization that values our SIM program and sees fellows who have graduated from it as an asset to their organization. And 93% of those 542 fellows who have gone through the program agree that the SIM program helped them to develop a career as a change maker. You'll see the countries where we are based in. We are based in Kenya, in India, and in Brazil. And our fellows have come, the vast majority of them have come from South America and Africa. We have had quite a few people from Europe and from Asia as well. And we are getting more and more people who join us also from the United States and the Middle East. When you choose to join the Amani Institute, you will be part of a community that is committed to social change. The community aspect is really, really important to us. As a SIM Fellow, as a SIM alumni, you will be joining a global community of change makers that are connected, that are helping each other, that are meeting regularly. There's also an info session on the community aspect of it on the 21st, I believe. Flavia, can you give me a nod because that's your session? Yes, big smile and big nod, fantastic. So this community will connect you with like-minded, completely unique individuals who have all a common ambition of making the world a better place and addressing the world's most pressing challenges. We do this through the post-graduation certificate in social innovation management that we in short call the SIM program. It runs in English and is open to people from all over the world. And particularly the digital editions are great for that because people who cannot join us otherwise for a program where they have to travel to another country, leave their families, their place of work, that has been a barrier for some people in the past. So by doing the program digitally, it reduces some of the barriers and allows even more people to join us on their journey to become a change maker. We are kicking off the next digital edition on March 1st, and it will run until July 30th of this year. The application deadline is February 15th. We have a scholarship application deadline on the 30th of January. And in the second part of the year, we will be running a blended edition, and that is pandemic permitting, with a 3-month online aspect and then 3 months of in-person courses in Kenya. Our approach to this, to making people more effective change makers, is to give them the experience of what it is like to work in the sector, to be a change maker. Part of the SIM program is to develop a social innovation project on your own. That is something that you're passionate about, that you're burning for, something that you want to change, a challenge that you want to tackle on your journey as a change maker. And then the other aspect to it is a more long-term one over the course of the program is that you can either apply the tools and the materials that you've picked up in the classes in your own job, in your own venture, or in an apprenticeship situation, which is what we are talking about today, which in this case in the digital edition, this time we first piloted an approach of doing this as a group consultancy structure. So we'll be hearing more about that in a bit. The second part is that you're learning from experts. You'll get hands-on courses led by people who have many years of experience of working in their particular areas. We have guest speakers from all over the world who are fantastic people, very engaging people. I think that's my personal favorite part of the SIM program is the guest speakers and the faculty that come and teach you and share their knowledge with you. And the last part is, and no less important, it's about who you are. Who are you as a leader? How do you function in this world? What is important to you? And how can you make the change happen that you want to happen? And we will be a part of the next session on the 19th is about the courses and this inner journey aspect of the course, the inner journey of the change maker, where you'll be learning a lot about yourself. The digital edition, as I said, is a 5-month program with 2 webinars a week, between 2 and 3 hours, and with additional smaller sessions, smaller group settings, where you'll be able to apply a lot of the knowledge that you've picked up. You'll find all of this information on our website. We'll share a link to that in the chat box. The final calendar will be shared closer to the beginning of the program, as we're currently still working on it, and it will a bit depend on who people are who are joining us, where they're coming from, so we can ensure that the timelines and time zones are all in line. As I said, the scholarship deadlines, we have a number of scholarships that we can give to support people who could otherwise not afford the program in full. Is January 31st. The final application deadline is February 15th. The program starts on March 1st and ends on July 30th. As I mentioned earlier, one of the aspects that is very important to us is the practical application of the materials that are taught. So during the program, for people who are not working in another full-time position or have their own venture, they will be doing an apprenticeship. And the goal, as I said, is to apply those tools and theories in the real world, in a real setting. So not just theoretically, not just in a team sitting over a table or on Zooms, but with a real life organization, and develop what we call entrepreneurship skills. The apprenticeship, as well as for all other people, there is an entrepreneurship challenge where a particular problem within an organization is addressed and solved with the skills that the fellows have picked up. The session focuses on the group projects that we did in the digital edition, but there's also an opportunity to do an individual apprenticeship with an organization of your choosing. In this edition, we've had 5 people or 5 groups doing these group apprenticeships. Today, we're joined by Arun, who did his group apprenticeship with Earth Company. They're Indonesia-based, and he will be telling us more about what he did in a little bit. We also had a team working at Pinkplace, working with Pinkplace in the US to review their internal communication strategy. I'm not sure if Faustina has joined us yet, but she'll be talking about that. Then we had a team at Mundo Aflora, which is a Brazil-based organization that works with girls and women who are incarcerated. And that team worked on the internal business side of things. They did a lot of internal organizational projects with Mundo Aflora. And we had 2 teams at the IRC, the International Rescue Committee. One was working on helping with business models, developing a factory in northwest Syria with open source, open source production of PPE. Christina's group was that, and I will be showing the video of their entrepreneurship challenge in a little bit. And the other team was working on a group of community designers. Those were also refugees from Syria, and what that could look like in real life. And their final project was actually used to now apply for grants with other organizations to fund this community design challenge group. All right, so we'll be sharing this. Great, okay, let me stop sharing. Okay, and I see we are joined by Faustina. Welcome, Faustina. Very glad to have you here.
Same here.
And I will actually, with this, hand over to Arun and Faustina. And one of you can start by telling me briefly why you joined this program and what you did in your apprenticeship.
Sure, Faustina, if you don't mind, I will start. So basically, before joining Amani, I was actually working in the banking industry in Switzerland for about 10 years. And I had different roles, and all the roles that I had in those different banks were more about speculation. And at the end of the day, I really had the feeling that what I was doing did not really have any impact for myself or for anyone else. And then I decided, I said, okay, I need to change. I need to find a way to actually pivot. Maybe I wanted to try to pivot into the social sector. But what I really wanted to do was actually trying to have a shift really from a meaningless career into a meaningful career. And that's the reason why I actually decided to join Amani and to join the SIM program.
Cool. Faustina, how about you?
Well, for me, I joined the SIM program, and I think I have an almost similar story to Arun. And this was because I was in a corporate. I worked in the corporate industry for almost 9 years of my life. And for-profit is a never-ending cycle. And sometimes you do it so often, it loses meaning in life. You're not seeing where you're going because it's always about the money, money, money. So I just wanted a change. I needed something different, something impactful, something that will build me as a person. And that's why I joined the SIM program to see if indeed I could be a fit. And luckily they had the apprentice program where you're immersed into a social impact situation, and you see if, and you're given the opportunity to check for yourself if maybe this is something that you could do. And to be honest, no regrets. There's so much I've learned, and I decided to basically change my career, but I'm sure I'll get into that later on. So yeah, that's why I joined the SIM program.
Do you just briefly want to also tell people what you did at Pinkplace, Faustina?
I want to connect my charger because my
okay, then Arun, why don't you go ahead while Faustina is charging and tell us what you did for Earth Company?
Yeah, so basically, like you mentioned before, the Earth Company is based in Indonesia and specifically in Bali. And what I did for them, we had actually two projects. The first one was for Mana. Mana is actually a eco lodge, and the idea is really trying to promote a next generation eco hotel. And of course, with COVID, they were suffering. They were not able to have any more international guests since Bali had actually a ban on traveling. So our first task was actually trying to have a marketing campaign, trying to attract more local tourism. So it was all about staycation. And the second project that we had was for a company called Operation Green. Also, it was a sub-company from the Earth Company. And they were more involved in the impact consulting services. So what we had to do for them was actually trying to research on the sustainability consultancy in Southeast Asia. So what we did, we just produced a report trying to really analyze a bit the market, seeing who are the competitors and what they are doing.
Very nice, thank you. Faustina, you did something completely different.
I did, yeah, I did something so different, so interesting. So we did the apprenticeship at Pinkplace Global. I was partnered with one of the ladies who was also part of the SIM program, our cohort, that's Laura. So we were given a very unique task to support one of the branches of Pinkplace. The studio is in the US. So ours was in line with what has been happening in the world, that is COVID-19. So it's a team that is, it's a team that we were supposed to help a team that was, they were split and working from different countries. It's a team of 5, 3 are in Australia, 2 are in the US, and the projects they're running are in Africa. So those are 3 completely different time zones. When others are asleep, the others are awake. When this is they're asleep, so that was basically the reality. So we were supposed to help them find a communication and collaboration pattern that would work for them, considering the times. So once we got once we were given our challenge, we decided to reframe it to something more musical, because we realized there was no musical, there was no tempo in the organization, and decided that we're going to try and help them get a rhythm. So we went through an interesting series of learning how to do active listening, which helped us to fully diagnose what the problem was in the organization. We learned so much about the different processes of design and the learning model that their money program taught us, which is as if we managed to marry it with their design process, and eventually we helped them diagnose the challenge. I can't say that they were able to find rhythm, but they realized that the problems were deeper than just being able to communicate and collaborate. And as a result, the organization decided to fully restructure. Yeah, so that was my interesting 4 months with Pinkplace US. All this we were doing, of course, remotely, with the new normal, working on Zoom. And yeah, I think we managed to do a lot despite the challenges.
And I have huge respect for the 2 of you, because your groups probably had the most issues with time zones. Faustina, you were working with US, Australia, and Africa, Europe. Arun, you were working between Japan, Indonesia, India, Europe, North America, South America. I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, my hugest respect for the 2 of you for managing that with your group. Absolutely amazing. Well done.
Thanks, Steph.
Thank you, Steph.
Thanks, Steph. Yeah. But there's a lot of learning that you get out of it, sacrifices. Somebody has to sacrifice their time.
I remember setting up the first group meeting for Earth Company and poor Arun. It was 5:30 in the morning for you or something like that?
I think it was something like that. And yeah, it's true. I mean, we were 4 Amani Philos. So I was me in Switzerland. We had someone in the US, someone in Peru, and also someone in India. And actually the team leader was even in Taiwan. So yes, basically it was really, that was the biggest challenge. It was either very early for someone or very, very late. But I think like Faustina just mentioned, it's all about sacrifice. And when you all work toward the same goals, you actually enjoy making the sacrifice for the other. So we didn't really mind, to waking up or staying late. I mean, we had so much fun that it was, it was almost normal. So like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And also, let's be honest, we were not meeting every week that way. It was maybe, let's say, every 2 weeks. But yeah, that was quite challenging, staying awake during early in the morning or late in the evening.
Well done for that. Again, huge respect for that. Arun, while we're on it, you were working with the biggest group, and your group also chose to do 2 different projects instead of just one, across a multitude of time zones. How did you manage that? And how did your group manage that? And what worked well? What were some of the challenges around that?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, we decided to work the 4 of us on those 2 topics because it was so interesting and so different that none of us were actually ready to give up on one of the group. So we said, okay, let's work all together. So what we did in order to work well, we decided really to split this task quite, with really boundaries. Saying, okay, you'll be in charge of that, and you will be in charge of that. So even though we were working in group, we were able to work independently. And I think that was very important. When we started, we really defined who was in charge of what. And at the end, what we had to do was just to consolidate our work. So that worked quite well, really splitting the task and trusting the process that we had set up. And yeah, like I said, the main challenge was really to stay awake. And we liked so much Earth Company. We were so into, we were their challenge. We made their challenge our challenge. So really, we felt that they had issue. It's not fun to have a hotel in the middle of COVID. And at the end of the day, you need to pay your bills. And we also knew that all the proceeds that they were collecting from the hotel was used or will be used to finance their Impact Hero project. And we really wanted to help them. So that's why, even though we didn't have many expertise in the hostelry or in the tourism, or we were not even coming from Indonesia, we overcome this challenge by really trying to make their value and their challenge ours. And I think that really helped us to deliver a solution that they were actually able to use it. So also at the end, we were super pleased because what we suggested to them, they actually decided to implement. So we really had the feeling that we had an impact.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing that. And what you said in the beginning of working with the team, but splitting tasks very distinctly, is that something that moving forward you see also helping in other work situations, particularly now that we're still in a situation where a lot of teams are working remotely? They may not be in the same room with each other. They may not see each other. Do you think that's helpful?
Absolutely. I've seen that before in the workplace, in the bank. It's when you all work at the same place, it's pretty easy. When something is wrong, you just go to your colleagues. It's just working next door, and it's simple. But when you work on different time zone, different location, if you don't define clearly what you have to do and who's in charge of what, it's extremely difficult. And I think with COVID-19 and all the lockdown, all the distanciation that we have to respect, I think that's something which will be very, very important, really, to define the role of everyone. And that's a huge learning for me. Yeah.
Thank you. Faustina, the next question is for you. And as I said in the beginning, for us, it's very, very important that the SIM program is not just a theoretical exercise. It is really gathering a number of tools that you can apply in your everyday work. But having been a fellow myself, I know that it can be quite overwhelming in the beginning to kind of see all the tools, everything that you absorb in the first couple of weeks and months of the program, and then deciding what works for you and what isn't. Can you share some of that experience? How was that for you working at Pinkplace? How could you use the things that you learned and actually make them work for you?
At the beginning, of course, now that you have just learned something new, of course, there's always a temptation to come in and start sharing everything that you've learned. But luckily, based on the learnings that you got, especially through the empathy phase, because that was let's say the first 4 programs in Amani, understanding the audience, the people you're talking to, at least we borrowed that to first of all understand who we're about to talk to, what challenge we're about to face, so that we know if we're going to propose some of the learnings that we've gotten out of Amani, it is something new to them. And this organization being a human-centered design thinking organization that is known to help different communities find solutions to health challenges, we had to remain cognizant to the fact that design thinking is their everyday life. So what we did was we started understanding how they do it. And while we were doing it, we would slowly introduce the learnings from Amani. We'd even change their terminologies because they have their way of framing things. So we would reframe it to what we're more familiar with, most especially when it came to the ASIF models, understanding mental models. Yeah, so that was the easiest way that helped us basically implement all the learnings that we had got. And as a result, it kind of made us look like we were more of doctors trying to treat other doctors, but they were like, oh my God, I think I like you. You know, I like how you guys are doing it. And, you know, we got a lot of positive feedback from them, and they could, you know, they even started changing their processes. They would say, use words like pause and reflect. But when you come to Amani, we tell them these are moments of reflection. Let's just call them reflection. It's not pausing, just reflect. And they decided to borrow some of these things, and I think it was a very great success, and it did wow that organization.
Great, thank you. And fun fact about Faustina's apprenticeship is also that her manager at the apprenticeship is a former SIM fellow who is now the head of the Pinkplace studio in Washington, D.C. Is that correct, Faustina? Did I get her title right?
Very true. So Juanita is the head of Pinkplace US. Funny thing, while we were doing our SIM process, in order for us to have a better understanding of how the organization operates, we contacted other studios. And the studio we contacted here in Kenya were all former SIM fellows. Yeah, that was Inez and Jacqueline. So yeah, it was easy. It was easy. They could understand why we're doing what we're doing, and it became just so easy to blend everything. Yeah.
It's a powerful community.
They were
Sorry,
also
Flavia.
from my Juanita and Jacqueline were also from my cohorts, because I'm part of a money team, but I'm also a fellow. And then we say that Amani is a matrix with no exit door, so be prepared for that.
You will find fellows everywhere.
And you know the funny thing, they always work together, because how they do things is not how people basically are used to doing things, but it becomes easier when they're working as a force. Yeah.
And that is a beautiful segue to my next question. You had already put trust to process on the chat. That is one of the things that you'll hear over and over again when you're doing the SIM program, to just a process, to just go with it, go with the flow. Another thing that we do is borrowed from improv theater, and that is called How Fascinating. It's all about failures. It's about making, screwing up and learning from that. And rather than brushing it under the carpet, really looking at it, see what happens, how you can do it better next time. Did either one of you have a How Fascinating moment in your in your apprenticeship journeys?
We had a couple of How Fascinating moments, because we're here to try and come up with a design challenge for a team of designers. And they are not used to being on the other side of the coin. Yeah. So mostly they're the ones who run the workshops, but this time these novices, Laura and Faustina, are about to run a workshop for them to discover some of the challenges. So once in a while we would repeat some of the words that they had used in previous meetings, and it would end up being a light bulb moment for them to realize that they're facing a challenge. So at one moment, one of the members, Zaros Brook, was like, I didn't know it is this bad, and I did not expect this to come from people we are trying to teach about design thinking. And I was like, oh, okay, this is such an interesting moment. And it was a very tense moment, because we didn't know what the next reaction would be. But Juanita jumped in and reminded the team why Laura and Faustina were here, because the problems were really deep, and it was getting emotional. It reached a point things were starting to get really emotional, but yeah, Juanita really helped us there. So that was my How Fascinating moment. There were others, but negligible.
Thank you for sharing that. Arun, did you have any?
I think we had one. It was actually a big one. I mean, when we had our first meeting, the Tomo, which is the CEO of Earth Company, told us what we were supposed to do. You know, he tell us, okay, he told us like, okay, guys, I'm expecting this and this from you. And then when we had the second meeting, his wife actually joined, and she had a totally other understanding of what she wanted from us to do. And of course, we were like, how? Okay. So we were preparing something, and at the end, they wanted something totally different. So it was a little bit embarrassing. And but at the end, we still had the chance to correct whatever we did. But yes, it was a bit of a surprise, you know, when there's two co-founder, one has a view, the other one has a different view, and when there's a bit of a miscommunication, you find yourself sometime in a fascinating moment. Yeah.
I can imagine that was an awkward moment. I don't envy you for that experience. You both worked in completely different sectors before joining Amani and the SIM program. How was the apprenticeship helpful for you to get an insight into the social sector? So how did that change how you saw the social sector, how you approach it now? You're both kind of making slight career changes, bigger one in Faustina's case. Arun, you are staying sort of in the banking sector, but shifting your focus. So how did the apprenticeship change any of that?
Maybe I can start, Faustina, if you don't mind. So I have to say, before joining Amani, I mean, we all have some prejudice. And I also had my prejudice about all the NGOs, and especially from the big ones. So I'm from Switzerland. I was also working in Geneva, and in Geneva you have many NGOs, the UN and others. And I always had the feeling that those big NGOs, they actually have a lot of money, and they don't care so much about how they use the money or to whom the money is allocated. That was a little bit my prejudice. And when I joined the Earth Company for my apprenticeship, I actually realized that money is actually, it's a scarce resource. And like I said before, everyone needs to pay their bills. And when someone really has a project that matters to them, and when you know that they need this money not only to pay the bills, but as well to fund the project and to have a really impact, then you start to realize, yes, money is important, not only for a bank, not only for an insurance company, but the money is also very important for an NGO. And this is even more true for a smaller NGO, you know? And that's why, I mean, I knew that all the money that we were making for the hotel, all the proceeds will be used to have an impact and to fund this Impact Heroes project that they were also running. So I think for me that's what really told me the apprenticeship and more about the social sector is that money is a scarce resource, and we need to find a way to redirect, you know, all the capital, all the money that we have, maybe in the financial sector, towards a more sustainable finance, towards people who are really trying to align their values with what they do in their daily life. And for me, it was like sort of a big wake up call that even if you work for a bank, and Fla was actually in charge of the entrepreneur courses, that you don't have to work for an NGO. You can also work for a big corporate, but you can also, with this big corporate, have an impact. You can also have a social, or also to have an environment, or I mean, you can have an impact wherever you are. It's only depending on what you want to do if you really want to be a change maker. And that's really what I learned from the apprenticeship, from what I learned from Amani, is that it's all about, are you ready to be a change maker? Are you ready to change the statu quo? And that's it. And that's why now I was in the banking industry. I think I will remain probably now in the banking industry because I understood that I can also there have an impact, you know. And like I said, it's just, I mean, the social sector need desperately some money, and through the financial sector, you can really try to redirect and try to align investment with values. So that's what I learned with Amani and with this apprenticeship.
Cool, thank you. I think that's really insightful, Arun. Thank you for sharing that. Faustina.
For me, it was a matter of two questions. Can you be a change maker working in a corporate, and can I work for free? And that's how the first time when I was doing my apprenticeship. The beauty is Amani gave us a chance to reflect as to how we want to do our Entrepreneurship challenge. Would you like to do it in your existing organization, or would you like to do it in a different organization that they would recommend for you? And I actually did a test run to check in my organization if they would be open to an entrepreneurship kind of thing and which area I would focus on. While speaking to my boss, and everything was just focused on how are we maximizing on profits if we do this, you know? And then as a result, she just wanted it to be spend the least time, spend the least money, then do whatever it is you want to do. Yeah, and at the end of the day, make sure it is helping us with our bottom line. So as a result, sorry about that, I have a very noisy son. Just go to the kitchen, So sorry about that. Yeah,
it's life, it's all part of it. It's while working from home, this is the reality of things, so you don't need to shush him to the kitchen.
So it's like, you know what, let me try this entrepreneurship challenge, and let me wait for Amani to recommend an organization. So when I saw Pinkplace, when Steph sent that email, I was like, now what is all this? Oh my God. I'm going to have to work in 2 companies at the same time. That is what I was telling myself all the time. And then I started the first process, the second process, and then I started seeing that, hey, you know what? Life doesn't always have to be about profits. There's something else you can do. So I was like, wait, I can be a change maker based on what I feel, not necessarily what somebody else is making me do. This is more of a personalized approach. Sorry again for that. That is more of a personalized approach. Sorry about that. So sorry about that. Yeah. So yeah. So
He's certainly not afraid of destruction.
Sorry.
It's a future change maker.
We've invaded his space as far as he's concerned. Yeah. So after going through that experience, whereby I am just working, you know, using my mind to help a problem, help them find solutions to some other projects that they were running actually in Nigeria. You know what? I was like, I feel more fulfilled compared to when I'm making money for somebody else. If only that money could have been channeled to something else, a social venture, or, you know, helping the individuals work there, maybe it would have been different for me. But after realizing that this cycle, for profit cycle, will never end, I felt like I just want to do something good that I feel I've done, something good. I feel like I've left a name somewhere, and yeah, and someone can call me a change maker. That is what just encouraged me to change my career into the social impact space. And as I say this, it's not that I've found employment, sorry, but still in the process of looking for one, but at least I'm doing some volunteer work because I think I can actually work for free. Yeah.
Cool.
That is how I just want to end it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. What was the most surprising thing that you've learned that happened on your apprenticeship journey?
Well, like I said, I think when for our apprenticeship, since we didn't have any experience, like I said, in tourism or in the hostelry industry, but when you apply the framework, the ASI framework, we actually realized that you can compensate. You know, when you trust the process, which is very well defined, you can achieve a good solution. And that was quite surprising, because usually you would say, yeah, you need to be an expert, otherwise the solution that you will find might be a little bit, not so good. But at the end of the day, the experts, so Tomo and his wife Aska, they told us, no, well, guys, you find a very, very good solution. So like Faustina was writing in the chat, trust the process, and it will simply work, And I think that was very surprising. And also maybe the second thing, which was also very surprising for me, not necessarily in the apprenticeship, but with the Amani program in general, is that we all come from a different background. We necessarily not from the same generation. Some were younger, some were older, but at the end of the day, we are sharing all the same values, and we all want to be change maker, and we all want to achieve the same things. And that was really surprising. We were really, really able to communicate to each other and to understand each other. It is exactly what Faustina said. At the end, when we all together from Amani and we all work together, we always find a good solution. And that was amazing.
Super nice. Thank you, Arun. Faustina, what was surprising to you?
What is surprising is the fact that Pauline used to say, trust the process almost every day. And I think we should have started a game. Every time she said that, you save $1. I would have bought 2 bottles of wine. But
I think we would have a lot of drunk fellows if you'd have to take a shot every time Pauline says trust the process. I'm not sure that would be very helpful for the journey that you're on.
As I said, $1. Put $1 somewhere.
I kind of like the
after
drinking
the class, you can have your glass of wine. But yes, all in all, trust the process. Sometimes you might have the fear that you don't know this because it's a new thing you're trying to do anyway. And you've been immersed in a situation where you're supposed to help people who've done this for years. Yeah. But just follow the process. And I kid you not, everybody will see you like the stellar performer that you really are. Believe in yourself. If you're not gonna wake up one morning and say, I am a change maker. But let me tell you, in doing, where's high, learning by doing. In doing these things every day, thinking about the Pinkplace challenge that you have. What can I do for them today? Who am I speaking to? This is the team in Australia. They always have to work overnight. What am I going to do for them and all that? When you keep thinking about them, when you keep doing it, let me tell you, you find the solutions. They just keep coming naturally. And as you collaborate, it becomes even easier, simpler. When you get the chance to dialogue with that other team, ask them, tell me more. You use those Amani words. Let me tell you, it makes you look like you really, really know what you're doing. But yeah, let's say that was what really helped Laura and I. But in trusting the process, let me tell you, no matter the challenge you've been given, you will be successful. So there was no challenge. It was just a problem statement. Yeah, because through the process that Amani taught us, well, we could have found even solutions to global warming if we wanted to. It's just that time was not on our side. Yeah, that is all I can say.
You just gave me goosebumps. Seriously, that was beautiful to say, yes, you have to believe in yourself, not any number of tools. Okay, now I have 15 tools in my toolkit. Now I'm a change maker. Unless you believe it, unless you practice it, you won't be one, but you are one. You already are a change maker and you have what you have. It's just a matter of adding to those tools, learning new things, applying them. And we are strong believers in lifelong learning. So thank you very much. I still, you have to believe in yourself. Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much for saying that. Are there any other questions from anybody who's joining today? I've been told to be quiet for 10 minutes. That's, 10 seconds. That's usually the time frame it takes for people to gather up the courage and speak. So I slowly counted to 10. Now with my talking again, we're definitely over 10 seconds. As a final parting question, Faustina and Arun, that I have, unless somebody else would like to ask a question, what advice would you give somebody who is starting the program either in March with the next digital edition, or then in June with the Kenya hybrid edition, in terms of the apprenticeship? It can be also overall global. What advice would you give somebody? And I challenge you to not say trust the process. Ha! I'm making this harder for you.
I'll start on this one. And at the beginning, when you listen to their money team, you will always feel like they live in a very different universe from you. Yeah. And I think I've mentioned this a couple of times when you were doing classes, but let me tell you, you're actually in the same frame. It's just all related to your mindset and how you want to view things. One key skill that I take with me from the same process is reframing every single situation that I'm in, good or bad. I'll try and reframe it so that it gives me more perspective, and it gives me an open mind to find a way of managing it. Therefore, we gave ourselves a code. That is me and Laura when we were doing our apprenticeship with Pinkplace, in that we have to kill the imposter syndrome, because we feel like, oh, these guys are designers, we are not, you know. But every day we'd always remind ourselves to kill the imposter process. And I would say, if Trump can be president of the US, you know what? I think I can do anything in this world, and I can be whoever I want to be. And as a result, in as much as Amani and this family that is so perfect, let me tell you, you two are also perfect, okay? You can be a change maker in whichever way. Yeah, that is the advice I would give those who are joining.
Amen. Thank you, Faustina. Another goosebump moment from you.
Yeah, Faustina is making my task very hard now. No, but just to add on what Faustina said, I think she's totally right. And at the end of the day, what Amani taught us is not to give up and not to be shy. I mean, it takes time to be a change maker. It's not because you're gonna follow the 6-month Amani program that you will be a change maker, but they will give you all the right tools to be one. And it's a long journey. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And that's the good things. Now we all Amani Philo, we, like Faustina said, we're a family, we're tribes. And I know, and I'm 100% sure that if I feel once that I need the help of one of my fellows just to cheer me up, because I feel a little bit depressed, or I have the feeling that I'm not getting towards the goal I want, I said to myself, I know that any of you guys will help me, and that's why I recommend to everyone, join Amani. You will join a family, you will join the tribes. Don't give up, don't be shy, accept your mistake. And if you have the calling, just follow your call.
I'm muting myself. That was a beautiful ending. Thank you, you two, for taking the courage, taking the plunge to applying and joining this family of change makers and of people who want to see change in the world, who will tackle climate change. Faustina, I'm sure that's happening. We are going to make it happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if an Amani Fellow is involved in big processes there. Thank you very much. Again, congratulations to the two of you to making it to the end of the program. I know it's a very difficult journey at times, that it takes a lot of dedication, and some days are easier than others, but you made it through. Congratulations. You will be graduating in 2 weeks. So we are immensely proud of you, of welcoming you to the family. And that is it for today. Thank you very, very much, everybody, for being here. I hope we can welcome you soon in Kenya to join the program.